Hey, this is Al Bane from Al Bane for Leather, and I'd like to talk to you about removing a burr off of a vertical access hook. Ones that are typically found on the Cobra Class 26, the Class 20, and the 5110. All right, so it's basically the same procedure. There's going to be little nuances with the different machines, but by and large, most of the time, it's going to be the same stuff. So here we go. First thing we want to do is remove the thread out of the needle so that it doesn't end up fouling the system. So just kind of get it all out of the way so it's not bothering you. You have to expose the hook, so let's just take the door completely off and set it aside. Okay, and this is the point of the hook. Okay, what happens is it spins all the way around, and catches the needle thread and basically ties the knot. But if you've unintentionally burred the point of the hook by maybe putting the needle in backwards or breaking a needle from running it into something heavy and then jamming that broken needle down into it, there's a likelihood that the tip of the hook has a little burr on it. So first off, what we want to do is inspect it, and we use our fingertip and our fingerprints to feel. So if we start at the back and slide toward the point, we can feel the ridges of our fingerprint sliding along. And on a healthy hook, it's just smooth. You don't feel anything. Okay, but if there's a little burr, it's going to catch on the ridges of your fingerprint, and you're going to feel a little vibration. So basically what we want to do is polish that off. Hopefully it's not real big, because if it is, then the procedures to repair it are going to be more aggressive. But I typically use a little piece of leather, this one, little piece of leather with some polishing rouge on it. This is the same stuff that I use on my strop. So basically what I'm going to do is hold on to it and put my finger behind it, and then from the back toward the front, and polish off that little burr. This is a very, very lightweight polishing. That burr is really small. Just smooth it out and then get that stuff going off the tip in this direction, from the back toward the front. Okay, so very simple. It's almost benign. It's not going to do a whole lot of work for you. Okay, at the same time as you're in here doing this, you're going to inspect the rest of the hook and feel around and look for burrs on that hook. Okay, so if the machine got knocked out of time and the needle hit the side of the deflector here, you're going to have to remove that as well. Okay, so if the leather and rouge trick doesn't work, then you're going to move up to something a little more aggressive. So this is a little piece of emery paper. I think it's about 800. I cut it into a sliver and then do basically the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to hold on to it and then pull from the back toward the front. You're going to feel that burr and take it off of there. Okay, don't forget the bottom of the hook. I use a pencil and point, but the point of the hook is here, so when it impacts, it pushes that burr down, so you got to get the underside of the point. The underside of the point right there. Okay, tricks with this particular machine would be to remove the rail here. So just take the screws out, give yourself a little more access to them. You know, if I actually used a tool, maybe I'd get this done. One-handed holding the phone and trying to shoot a video at the same time makes it a little tricky. But here we go. Okay. Out with the screw and off with the rail. Okay. Okay, so there you go. The rail's out of the way, and you have a little more access to the point of the hook. Okay. If this doesn't solve it and you have to get more aggressive, then the next procedure is a little more intense, but you would remove the bobbin case, which we've discussed in the defouling video, which you would inevitably rotate the hook around and take the gib off. There's 3 little screws here. Take that off, and then find a little sweet spot and pop the bobbin case out, and underneath there you're going to find a flathead screw remove that and the whole hook assembly will come out. Now you've got the thing in your hand and you can get a little more aggressive with it. But we'll talk about that in a later video. All right. This is Bane for Leather. Hope makes a little more sense for removing the burr. And the only thing we ever ask is that you please pay it forward. I'm going to put my machine back together. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Please remember to, I've never done this before, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and then spread the word, because a lot of people could use this information. We're a little bit on the grassroots side, so it's not real highly polished video production, but you know, if you like what you see, help other people with their equipment. And again, have a good day. Please pay it forward. Bye-bye. Hey, this is Bane for Leather, and we're continuing on with talking about removing the burr off of our hook on a Cobra Class 26. So here I've removed a bunch of the parts. Typically that's missing here is the side rail that's holding the door in place, and the side cover that's holding the hook body, and not the hook body, the bobbin case in place, and the feed dog. Okay, so here you can see the point of the hook is right here. Okay, and as it rotates around, you can see the needle shaft right there. Okay, so as it rotates around, it comes in to the timing moment. You can see the point of the hook entering the space in the needle scarf. Okay, so you can see exactly why if you put the needle in backwards, you're going to get a burr, because that scarf allows the room for the point of the hook to go through, and if you put the needle in backwards, it's just going to impact the point of the hook and the needle, giving you a broken needle probably, and more than likely burring the point of the hook. So if the previous method, by using a little piece of emery or a little piece of leather with some polishing rouge on it, doesn't solve the problem, then the next step, you would have to be a little bit more aggressive and remove the bobbin case itself. So this part right here is the bobbin case, okay, and this is the gib. Okay, that's the holder that's holding everything in. Okay, what I would normally recommend is that you stuff this compartment with a paper towel so that you don't drop the screws in there and lose them inside the workings of the machine. Okay, but what I do is I magnetize my screwdriver. So here's a little magnet. I'm going to slide my screwdriver back and forth on it to magnetize it. Then I'm going to reach in and simply remove the screws. Okay. And they're really hard to get because my fingers are fat. But once they're loose, the magnet will hold onto the screw, just like that. Okay. Then I drop it in my spare parts box. Next, position it so that everything is easy to expose. Hard to focus two things at once. I wish my reluctant camera operator was here. There's the second screw. And then rotate it around so I can get to the third one. And the third one's gone. And now to get the gib out, helps if you have a pair of tweezers. Hold on. Grab a quick pair of tweezers, get a hold of it, and out it comes. Okay? So then, the sweet spot for removing the case is with the edge of the deflector sitting at 6 o'clock, or closest to the operator, and the little latch protrusion sticking out somewhere toward 4 or 5. You see, can you make note of that? Let me focus real quick. So the edge of the deflector at 6 o'clock closest to the operator, and the little protrusion rotated around to about 5 o'clock, the basket will come straight up and out. Okay, so there it is. Okay. Now what you find on the inside is this flathead screw. That flathead screw gets loosened up, comes out, and then you're going to notice that there's a part inside that lines up with these little holes, and it locates the hook body. Okay, give me a second and I'll remove that for you. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, so now that the basket case is out and the screw is down in the center right there, you're going to take the long screwdriver. Here's a real long one. I'm going to stick it in the screwdriver slot in the screw, and then up through this channel right here and all the way up here. Okay, this is very unorthodox, but it's common in sewing because you can't get any screwdrivers in there to get enough purchase. You can try it with a right angle screwdriver or a stubby, but you're not going to develop enough force to actually turn the screw. So basically what you do is you put a ton of weight on the top of the screwdriver, push down like crazy, and then break it loose and just crank it until it lets go. Bam! The damn thing comes loose, and then you can turn without being as exaggerated with the force. Once you get it loose, it comes out fairly easy. Okay. The problem is that you're likely to bugger up or whatever you want to call it, the top of the flathead screw. It doesn't really matter too much unless you thrash it so much that you can't reuse the screw, and then ultimately you have to order a new one. But once it's loose, it's okay. You might have to polish off some of the burr or whatever later, but it's really weird how they make these things where it's not really that user friendly, but they expect a mechanic to have a spare screw around, right? But here we are at home trying to keep our machines running, and then ultimately this screw, the head ends up getting a little beaten up, but you polish that back off later. Okay, so now that screw goes into the parts box, and here's the hook. Okay, now the hook body has to come out in one direction because the bobbin case opener gets in the way, and we have to figure out which direction that is to come out. I don't do this every day, so there it is. Come on. And there's the hook itself. Okay, so it only goes back in one way. There's a little index at the bottom, and there's the opener itself. You can see how that works, but leave it kind of right there, and now you can see the point of the hook and the hook assembly. Okay, so what you want to do is get the burr off of this point. Okay, it's probably underneath. The needle comes down and strikes it, and the burr deflects toward the bottom. Okay, so now you're going to use your same procedures again. Let me see if I can get it focused. With your emery or your little strop or whatever. So get in there, polish that off now that you can actually reach it, and then put it all back together. So here we go. Let's put it back in. So hard doing it one-handed, you have to bear with me. Come on. Let's look at some of the anatomy of the hook and the bobbin case opener. So there's the bobbin case opener sitting with the hook removed out of the machine. Okay, now there's a little tab right here that kind of holds it in place, and you see this hole. The bottom of the hook goes down and engages, and you probably can't see it from here, but there's a little notch that the bottom of the hook body settles into. So let's talk about that. Here's the hook body, and there's that little pin, or the bottom of the hook body itself, and that male has to engage a female that's down in that hole. So they have to line up together. So basically it's going to go down there and fit in that space. But now the opener has a big hole in the center of it. So I'm going to take it out. It's going to be really hard to do one-handed. And it's going to relate to the hook body like this. Okay. So you see that? That hole and the hook body have to line up at the same time as that little guide inside the space there, and this little horseshoe shaped guide part have to line up together. Okay, so here I'm going to put it all back together. I can't do this one-handed. It's so fun. Okay. Hold on. Okay, so here's the stack order. The hook body right here, the bobbin case opener and its hole, and then the hook body's got this big race surface on it like this. Okay, now I'm going to put it down. The hook body's down on the table. This is all fun because it's one-handed. So now it's going to slide over that little guide right there. You see that? That thing kind of pivots around. Now the hook, bobbin case opener, and its little guide are in place, and you can still see the hole where the bottom of the hook body has to go through. Okay, so I've rotated it around so the little notch is going forward and backwards, away and toward the operator, and now there it is right there. That's the part that has to engage. So I know that that's going to line up front and back, and then this guy is going to line up front and back the same way. Okay, so the hook body's going in, that notch is lined up front and back, more or less, but then as it goes in, the hook, the bobbin case opener all have to line up together. God, I'm going to have to shoot this again with an assistant. Okay, so the bobbin case opener, see how it's moving around? It has to engage that circle, that protrusion sticking out of the bobbin, out of the hook body. Yeah, we're going to have to do this with a friend. Oh, there it is. It fell in. Now the opener doesn't move, and the hook itself is locked up on that pin or that little notch that's inside there. Okay, so there it is, and the opener and everything's all come together. Now we get that long screw, put it in the hole, get it tightened up as best we can with our fingers, reach over with our super long screwdriver, make it travel through this little gap here. It's basically just a thread guide space, but the screwdriver fits in there real nice. Okay, tighten it up. We're just spinning gently here. Doesn't matter how well lined up the screwdriver is here because there's no torque or any pressure on anything. And now that we're pretty much at the bottom and we want to finally tighten it up, okay, now it's getting seated, and now I'm going to put a ton of weight on the driver, pushing straight down so that it only engages, and we don't want it to slip out of the screw. So as much weight as I can get on it, making sure that while I'm moving the driver, it's really engaging the end of the screwdriver and that screw. Okay. I don't know how many foot-pounds they want, but I don't want it to move at all, so I'm pushing down a lot of weight, and that last little cinch up, and I'm out. Okay. Hopefully the head of the screw isn't too damaged. It doesn't look bad from here, so it'll be able to come back out again in the future. Now I'm going to inspect my timing, so I'm going to lower the needle to the bottom dead center and up 3/16, the point of the hook right above the eye. Here it comes. Looks like it's in perfect timing. There's the eye. The point of the hook is 1/8 of an inch above it at 3/16. The needle deflector is in perfect position. So it looks like we've got a good job. So basically we've removed the hook body, made sure that the bobbin case opener is aligned up on the mating surface underneath the hook body, and the hook is engaged in the bottom of the pin there, is locked up in that area to receive it. There's a male-female relationship there. The point of our hook has been polished off. The needle and the hook are in good time, and the deflector is in good place. Okay. I failed to mention before that if you've broken the needle, you might have a burr on the deflector here itself, so you might have to polish a little bit on that. And don't forget to look on the inside of the presser feet and all that stuff as you're inspecting for burrs. All right, this is Al Bane for Leather, signing off. I hope everyone's got a little more insight into their machinery, and the only thing that we ever ask is that you please pay it forward.